But what you do, I am the only candidate here that has said I'm for a constitutional amendment to balance the budget. You have to have fiscal discipline. You've got to also grow the economy. You have to have universal pensions. Here's, this estimate that you just talked about is based on the growth of the economy, 1.3%. If it grows to 1.8, we don't have this. And if we balance the budget, restore our fiscal house, there will be economic growth. If we invest in education and have a stronger workforce, if we incentivize and have a pro-growth economy where we say we're going to make America green, renewable energy, we're going to bring new jobs.
So Governor, what you're saying is that there's no pain in this. You can double the number of people on Social Security and Medicare, and the life expectancy can go to 78. The reason Franklin Roosevelt set age of eligibility at 65, that was life expectancy. You made it on the program for a month or two, and that was it. You're going to have double the number of people on these programs for 15 years, and you can do it by growing the economy.
Tim, I have said I am for a constitutional amendment to balance the budget within 5 years. That is pain. You don't do it in a recession. You don't do it in a war. But if you also generate economic growth, this projection that you mentioned by the year 2041 is based on 1.3 economic growth. That is pathetic.
Senator Edwards,
grow the economy,
can you grow your way out of this?
No, sir, you cannot. And I would say that the single most important thing for anybody running for president is to be willing to be honest with America. You cannot solve this problem just by setting up a bipartisan commission. All of us are for that. You cannot solve this problem just by growing the economy. All of us are for that. But the American people deserve to hear the truth. They have heard so much politician double talk on this issue. That's the reason young people don't believe Social Security is going to be there for them. Why would you possibly trust a bunch of politicians who say the same thing over and over and over? We're going to grow our way out of this. But nothing changes. Nothing changes. The honest truth is there are hard choices to be made here. The choice I would make as President of the United States is on the very issue that you've asked about, which is the cap. And I have to say I have some difference with my friend Chris Dodd, who I agree with a lot. But I don't understand why somebody who makes $50 million a year pays Social Security tax on the first $97,000 and not on the rest, while somebody who makes $85,000 a year pays Social Security tax on every dime of their income.
Well, John,
I'm sorry, Chris, let me just finish. I'll let you respond. But I want to say one last thing about this. I do have some difference with some of my colleagues who I've heard talk about this. I think we have to be very careful to protect the middle class. So specifically, if I can be very specific, what I would do as president is I would create a protective zone between 97,000 up to around 200,000, because there are a lot of firefighter couples, for example, that make $100,000, $115,000 a year. We don't want to raise taxes on them. But I do believe that people who make $50, $75, $100 million a year ought to be paying Social Security taxes on that income.
I think,
real fast.
Of course, we ought to be raising the cap in order to protect Social Security, which is solid through about 2040 without any changes whatsoever. But what everyone should realize in this country is that Wall Street is very interested in privatization. And unless we have a president who states very clearly, no privatization, believes in economic growth, and I'm talking about a new WPA, a Works Green administration, creating technologies for a green America. We have to believe in economic growth. We should raise the ceiling, and in addition to that, Tim, we should be thinking about lowering the retirement age to 65. People's bodies break down. There are people who are retiring early. They don't have the kind of economic help they should get. We should be thinking, raise the cap, lower the retirement age to 65, stop privatization, increase economic growth. That's what a Senate presidency will mean.
Senator Dodd, Senator Edwards, invoke your name. You got 30 seconds.
And I thank you. What I was suggesting here, Joe, I think, said we tax everybody. I think clearly that you don't have to do that. I'm sure you would, Joe.
Thanks for
but you can do this by basically readjusting that tax so you don't have to, doesn't have to affect everyone in society. So, John, I'm not suggesting it just.
But you'd raise it to 500,000.
But you've got to raise it up clearly, and to do this. Now, let me also say something. Look, because all of this comes down to one other issue, Tim. Clearly, and Joe made the point earlier. We can all talk about this. No one political party is going to do this. It's going to take people who can bring people together to get the job done, and you need to demonstrate not just the experience, but the proven ability to actually get results by bringing people together to do things that were difficult to accomplish. That's what I've done for 26 years. I know how to do this. And I think the American people are looking for leadership that not just make promises about what they're going to do, but the ability to bring elements together, as you had happen with Ronald Reagan and Tip O'Neill and Bob Dole and Pat Moynihan. That kind of leadership is missing today. That's what the American people want back.
Tim, I just have to insert something here. You know, the Democrats are against privatization. I fought against it. We all did. But in the interests of, I think, facts, we were on a pathway at the end of the Clinton administration, in the words of Alan Greenspan, of eliminating the debt. That was one of the excuses he gave when he voted for those horrible tax cuts in 2001, that he was so worried we would actually eliminate the debt. So I think it's important that you cannot give away what you're going to be negotiating over when it comes to Social Security until you make it clear that fiscal responsibility is got to be the premise of the negotiation. And if you don't lead with that, and if you don't point to the fact that the Democrats are much better stewards of our country's budget than the Republicans are, because once again we're in a mess after this President Bush leaves office, then you're going to be negotiating with yourself, and I think that's a mistake.